Violence is what's dominated our city for the 37 years that I've been alive. I grew up in the 1980s and 90s. If you were black and you were outside, you can be taken to jail for any simple thing. We've been doing this all my life, but violence is still here. We have to police better.
The youngest mayor in the city's history trying to restore trust in government.
You cannot go anywhere in Baltimore without seeing the aftermath of gun violence.
We've seen other strategies that are rooted in penalty.
We are going to be reimagining public safety in Baltimore. We take guys who used to be shooters and killers, and they're now interceding in the violence.
We the peacemakers. Many of us have been to prison, but now we work to diffuse violence in our community.
That is a clip from the new film Body Politic, chronicling Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott's first year in office. And the mayor just made history. He just won re-election, making him the first Baltimore mayor to win a second term in 2 decades. And other American cities have their eye on Baltimore, wondering what they're doing right. One neighborhood is celebrating a milestone: 0 homicides in more than a year and counting. In that neighborhood, homicides have dropped by 86%. Non-deadly shootings are down 76%. And this neighborhood in Baltimore, called Brooklyn, was the site of a block party shooting that killed 2 people and hurt almost 30 back in July of 2023. Most of the people shot there were teenagers and young adults. I do want to bring in Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott to talk more about the success he's finding. Mayor, thanks so much for making the time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And Mayor Scott, kudos on this milestone. Kudos on your re-election. More than 400 days without a homicide in that Brooklyn neighborhood. What did you do that made the difference here?
Well, it's not a me, it's a we. What we have been doing across Baltimore and in Brooklyn is having a comprehensive approach to dealing with gun violence. Since the incident, the minute that incident happened, the entirety of city government has been on the ground there, from our Safe Streets violence interrupters, my mayor's office of neighborhood safety engagement, rec and parks, every agency you can imagine working with that community together to get ahead of the issues that the people are having and trying to tamp down conflict before it rises to violence, making sure from a policing standpoint that we're extracting the people that we need to extract, making sure that we're getting families and resources of things that they need there at the celebration where we acknowledge the progress, but know that we have a long way to go. We heard from a young man who got his life turned around because he met with our workers and they were able to get him on course to getting a GED and getting a job. And that's what we're doing all around Baltimore. Last year, we had a historic reduction of 20% in homicides in our city, and we're beating that with another 24% this year and a 34% reduction in non-fatal shootings, because every party plays a part. Community, police, violence intervention, employment, everything has to work together to cure us of this disease.
I hear that. Does your city's approach to policing differ from other progressive cities like Chicago, like San Francisco? What do you think other cities can learn?
Well, this is, listen, every city is different, but we know this strategy that we have, our group violence reduction strategy, works. It's been proven to work in city after city after city.
Can you describe that process in a nutshell?
Yeah, you have to go out, and you just can't police everybody like they did when I was a kid. You go out and identify who are the most at risk to getting being the victim or perpetrator of gun violence. And in our case, they actually get a letter from me that tells them, I know who they are, I know what they do, we want them to be alive. We will help them change their life. But if they don't, we will extract them with law enforcement. Many people have changed their lives. We had a graduation from folks yesterday, folks that are working in our public work department, but then some haven't. And that's when you see that partnership between me, my police commissioner, our state's attorney, our U.S. attorney, our attorney general here, working together for those people who will still remain committed to doing that violence. We will extract them. And that's what we're going to do all across the city. Provide that opportunity for folks to change their life. But if they don't, then bring that heavy hammer, while also focusing in on removing illegal guns from our streets, targeting places that things like ghost guns from our streets. Everything has to work together.
Yeah, I think the concept of these personalized letters is fascinating to people who you think may commit or, get into that life in the future. I do want to ask you about a few polarizing issues for major cities. We're looking at California's Prop 47, for example, and under that law, someone can steal up to $950 in merchandise and be charged with a misdemeanor rather than a felony. There were similar laws in other states throughout the country. When Ivan Bates, for example, took over as Baltimore State's attorney in 2023, I know he vowed to enforce minor crimes, saying, quote, "At the end of the day, we just cannot allow people to do whatever they want." Where do you stand on this? Does our country need more tough on crime DAs?
We have to be smart on crime, right? And we have to be tough when necessary. And I think for us, those of us like me who are in charge of police departments, we have to enforce the laws that are on the books and also the ones that we know that are going to be prosecuted. What the state's attorney would tell you is that, look, there are instances where we have to help people get help and get them another way, but we cannot just have people out here doing whatever they want consistently over and over again. We have to be smart about when we bring that full sledgehammer down, which is what we're doing through GVRS. Providing opportunity, but you cannot live in a world where people will do the same thing over and over and over again, and there's no accountability. And that's where the frustration comes from folks like myself and other mayors around the country, because we are not in charge of anything other than the police departments. We can tell our police to go out there and enforce the laws, but if they're seeing them come out the back door over and over again, we have to work better with our judges and the other parts of our justice system. And that's a frustration that mayors have around the country that
Yeah,
we're going to
certainly.
continue.
And Mayor, let me ask you about these personalized letters that you send out to young people. You say that you have to be ready if they do commit a crime to extract them right away. Tell me more about that process. Are you monitoring these individuals? Are you waiting for them to commit the crime? And do you get them out of the community right away? Or what does that look like?
Well, I'm smarter than going through our law enforcement strategy on TV, but just know that if folks do not heed the message that we send to them, and these not just young people, these are people 30, 40 years old. We don't care if you're 50, 60, however you are. You should take that message. If not, we will build cases. We will extract you from those neighborhoods and make it so that you cannot be there to terrorize those people who are trying to live, work, and play in that neighborhood in a peaceful way.
And in Baltimore, crime is down. Notably, incarceration is up. Is it that simple, or is there more to it than that?
It's everything. This is the most complicated thing in our country to tackle. This is not just solely, we cannot solely put this on the backs of our police, our community. Everyone has to play a part in that. We have to make sure that education is working, that there's jobs and opportunities. And that's the beauty of our comprehensive violence reduction strategy, that it considers everything. What our police should be doing, what our education department should be doing, what our employment development department should be doing, what our health department should be doing. Everybody has to work together to create an environment that allows us to continue to reduce violence.
And we're showing these fentanyl statistics on the screen. We know Baltimore has been hit hard by the opioid epidemic, and according to the health department, an average of more than 2 overdose deaths per day. Why do you think the city has been hit so hard in particular, and who is to blame?
Well, listen, I can't go into too much detail, but we just won an historic a lawsuit settlement with opioid companies and pill companies just last week because we know that they were pushing these pills into our community. We now have upwards over $500 million in settlements coming to the city because these companies just willingly push these things into our community and really overburden our systems that have been there to help with opioids and addiction. And we're looking forward now to investing that historic amount of money into those neighborhoods, into those organizations that can help combat this deadly issue.
How does your administration plan to work with President-elect Donald Trump when he returns to office?
Listen, the president is the president, right? And what I hope, and I hope the mayors hope around the country, is that the president and his team get there and they see that cities like mine and others are seeing this historic levels of reduction in violence and not try to shake that cart and allow us to continue to have that federal support and work to make sure that we're making these cities safer each and every day. And that's what our hope is. But if they don't, then we will have to find other ways to fund these things that work from our GVRS, which is a program of our police department, of our state's attorney, of my office, and all these other great programs that are working right now, that are proven and tried to reduce violence to historic levels. We want to continue that work no matter who's at the Oval Office.
All right, we appreciate it, Mayor. And the Body Politic airs Monday, November 25th, 10 p.m. Eastern on PBS. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.